Builders work with materials. Musicians work with sound. Photographers work inside of frames. And in our formal meetings, members work within meeting rules and procedures. How does this make you feel? Sometimes I'll hear from somebody who says, all of these meeting rules and this very specific focus on motions is limiting my ability to be creative, and it's limiting my organization's ability to think outside of the box, explore new ideas, and to problem solve. Keep watching this episode of Point of Order, because we're going to be discussing the ideas of creative constraints and see how they can maybe apply to your meetings. All right, let's dive in. Welcome to this episode of Point of Order. So, an argument that I hear from time to time is this. All of these rules and this focus on motions, they're limiting my organization's ability to be creative. That's today's point of order. And we're going to dive into the argument that rules are limiting the ability for organizations to have creative problem solving and creativity in their discussion and debate. And we're going to test that by looking at the arts. I'm not sure if anybody was expecting us to be looking at the arts today when it comes to meeting rules, but here we go. I'm looking at an article from a music website called MusicBed. And it's titled Exploring the Power of Creative Constraints in 5 Examples. Now, it's not necessary to go into the 5 examples here because they're very specific to poetry and music and visual arts. But there are a couple of comments here at the outset that I do want to share with you. Creativity is full of paradoxes, not the least of which is the fact that having absolute creative freedom is often highly uncreative. It's a phenomenon called paralysis of choice. The more options we have, the harder it is to choose anything. So we do nothing. When everything is an option, somehow we find ourselves optionless, which is why almost every artistic medium develops its own limitations over time. G.K. Chesterton once said, "Art consists in limitations. The most beautiful part of every picture is the frame." Art wants limits. And formal meetings want procedural limits. Formal meetings are meetings where you want to have a proposal put to the group to take an action or take a position. You want to have focused discussion in on the proposal at hand that will lead to a decision to result in an action. Your formal meetings are not the appropriate setting for brainstorming and blue skying. Formal meetings require formal decisions, which in turn require formal proposals. And there is creativity in constraints, creative constraints. We have procedural rules that not only enable, but effectively encourage creativity in the way that all members are provided the opportunity to contribute regardless of their views. In the way that when a member has the floor, they're not to be interrupted, they're to be listened and heard out. In the way that the rule of relevancy and being germane to the issue at hand focuses the mind in on trying to come up with creative problem solving and creative solutions, working within the frame of a formal meeting will absolutely engender creativity if you let it. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. And that's one thing that folks who are interested in rules of procedure should always keep an eye to. Evolving the manuals, the parliamentary authorities is very important in order to keep looking at that balance between the rights of the organization and the rights of the individual members. To those who would argue that all of these rules and this focus on motions are constraining my organization's ability to be creative, let me read you another quote, this time from Igor Stravinsky, famous 20th century composer. "The more constraints one imposes, the more one frees oneself, and the arbitrariness of the constraints serves only to obtain precision of execution." Now, in our formal meetings, we're not looking for arbitrary rules. We're looking for very systematic ways to look at the balance between the rights of the organization to move business forward efficiently and effectively, and the rights of each and every member to contribute, to offer their opinions, to speak in favor or against a proposal. Think about it this way. At the outset, without something to guide your thinking and to guide discussion, you're faced with a blank page. And quite often, you may not even know where to start, where to begin. Or, alternatively, there are so many ideas that may or may not relate to the issue at hand that you're now faced with multiple paths in which you can go and frozen with all of these possible options. Put a specific proposal in front of the group, and now you have something to focus in on. Put some constraints to where to start your discussion, and you can explore ways to do it slightly better through the conversation. You might find that you may want to take a slight left turn or a right turn. You may want to change some of the specifics, but you know where you're starting from. And if applied thoughtfully, the rules ensure that everybody around the table gets a chance to have their say and to be heard and to propose maybe slightly better ways of doing things. And at the end of the day, with all of this collaboration in a fair and systematic way, you can conceivably come to even better decisions that will result in more effective actions. So it's time for our ruling. And I would rule that in this case, the point is not well taken. Used properly, good rules, good procedure will actually encourage debate and diverse opinions. These rules can actually encourage more input and systematically help ensure that all voices around the table are given equal time and opportunity to contribute. Can we do better? Yes, always. But this is a pretty decent place to start. View your constraints like Stravinsky as an opportunity to let your creativity blossom. All right, meeting adjourned for this episode of Point of Order. If you have questions or comments, please drop them below. If you're looking for short form breakdowns of motions and procedural issues, check out Order of Business. For long form content around historic developments in parliamentary procedure and deep dives into specific motions, Parliamentary Inquiry is where you want to go. And the series, The Monthly Grind, is there to give you ideas and insight into how to make your meetings more effective. For now, why don't you check out one of these two videos here and here, and I will see you next time.